Another road... How many road games do I have to play? I really don't like playing defense on the left end. One reason I really like LeBron James is because... Oh, that's Charles Barkley. One reason I really like LeBron James is because he brought team basketball back to the NBA. In the early 2000s, when LeBron got drafted, there was a real problem of selfish players in the NBA. Of ISO basketball that was so boring to watch. I mean, if you give me the 80s and the early 90s of basketball, that's like when it's at its best. And it was all team basketball. It was all team basketball, but the late 90s, the early 2000s of basketball there was a real dark time as far as good offensive basketball goes. I think that after his NBA career is over, he might try to become a coach. He'll probably try to become a coach or an agent is probably what he'll do after his career. If that's the case, he might not go to college. I really don't know. If he becomes a coach, I definitely think he won't go to college. If he becomes an agent, though, he might. But those are the two things I could see LeBron doing in the future after he retires, is either become a coach or an agent. Shaq said when Shaq played with LeBron that one year when they were together, Shaq said that LeBron is so smart when it comes to basketball that he could be a coach right now in the league, is what he said. Of course, he might have been exaggerating, but... You usually don't see a really talented basketball player, someone who was really good, also end up being a really good coach. Usually you see the guys like Steve Kerr, you know, who end up being really good coaches. Yes. Ah. He might really struggle at it. He might really struggle at being a coach. I mean, a lot of great players, like Isaiah Thomas. Who else? Who else has been a really great player, but not a very good coach at all? I can't think of any right now, but Isaiah Thomas is one example of a guy who was an excellent player, but could not coach very well. Oh, I can think of another. Mike Singletary in the NFL. Is that his name? Mike Singletary, I believe it's his name. The famous linebacker for the Bears. He was an excellent player, you know, Hall of Famer. But thought I'd get a second block out of it. Excellent player, Hall of Famer, but was not a very good coach. Oops. Offensive foul. I haven't seen him do that since 2010. Serious face. I could be wrong, but I think that he stopped doing that once he went to Miami. Uh, the 2010-2011 season is when he went to Miami. Whoa! Launched across the screen. I can't remember the last time he did the chalk toss. Of course, I really only start watching basketball around playoff time. I really don't watch a lot during the I hardly watch any at all during the regular season. I really don't start watching until playoff time. But I don't remember him doing that since he left Cleveland the first time. Ah, oh, I blocked it. Nice. That's the first time I've ever blocked a layup before. I wonder if it's possible to block a dunk. Yes. 2 blocks in a row, 2 rebounds in a row. Oops. Bobby Hansen missed. Who in the league right now has more championships than LeBron right now? There's probably somebody who's like a bench player who has more. I don't know. There's definitely nobody in the league right now that has more MVPs than him. Or finals MVPs. Definitely no one in the league who has more finals MVPs than him right now. But I don't know about championships. There's probably some bench player that has 4 that we don't even know about, you know? Because, like Robert Ory, who was always a role player for his career, has 7 NBA championships. Steve Kerr, who was always a role player his entire career, had 5 NBA championships. Championships are not a good measure of how good you are as a player. If you want to be in the Hall of Fame, not in the Hall of Fame, if you want to be considered an all-time great player, like a top 10 all-time great player, you have to have at least 1 Finals MVP. I would agree with that. But you probably have to have multiple Finals MVPs to be considered an all-time great player. But I would not put one player over another based on championships. Championships are a team accomplishment. Well, I mean, he was in the right place at the right time. They didn't win those 7 championships because of him. I mean, he's a role player, averaging 7 points a game, something like that. There are plenty of times when he made very important contributing plays to those teams, but he was by no means the main factor. He was by no means not even the main factor, but an important factor as to why they won a championship. In the NBA, the better team usually wins because it's always you have to win 4 out of 7. That's different from the NFL where it's just one game in the playoffs. In the NFL, the best team does not always win. Sometimes the better team has an off night in the playoffs. It's happened many times in NFL history. Same in college basketball. In college basketball, the best team does not always win. It's whichever team just happened to play better that day. Sometimes that happens. Kentucky, just a few years ago, was undefeated, but Wisconsin just happened to have a better game and beat them. Should not have beaten them. Kentucky should have won that game easily. Kentucky just didn't have a very good game. I shouldn't take away credit from Wisconsin. Wisconsin had a very good game, but Kentucky, I mean, they should have won. They had the more talented players. find Jordan. There. Whoops, threw it out of bounds. Oh, missed it. Alright, how many blocks do I have? 21. Horace Grant had more points than Jordan in this game. Okay. Didn't have very many rebounds that game. Still averaging over 10 though. Points are fine, of course. Alright, I'm going to call it a night. Okay, so... we're 8-0. On pace for a triple-double. Averaging a triple-double for a season. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. So thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time.